Hey, welcome back to Spellbound. I'm BEEJ, and these are 4 icy winter fantasies that are on my January TBR. So starting with Echo North by Joanna Ruthmeyer. This book feels kind of Beauty and the Beast-ish if it was all like very in like a winterscape. So I think her dad disappears and she can't find him, nobody can find him, and then she finds him like trapped either in ice or something, but under the guard or watchful eye of this like mysterious wolf. In fact, she's familiar with this wolf. This wolf attacked her as a child for some reason, and also is a magical being and can talk. So the wolf says that if the girl, the main character, agrees to live with him for 1 year, then he will like let her dad go and free him from the ice. So yeah, this is, as I'm saying this out loud, this is the, in fact, beats of Beauty and the Beast. So she says, cool, for sure. And so she goes, and it's like this icy winter palace under a mountain that has like a magical library. Yes, very Beauty and the Beast. And, but then she discovers that like there's this man or boy like stuck behind a mirror, and she tries to search for answers of who this person is and save him before the year runs up, and she loses the opportunity to save her dad. So, icy winter fantasy, Beauty and the Beast retelling. Looking forward to it, but still kind of curious because I never really heard anything about this book. Like nothing positive or negative. This is from 2019, just around the time that I started on BookTube again and started reading, and I remember hearing about this book, but I never heard like a yay or nay about this book, What do you think? Have you read this book? Should I, I think everything around 2020 was a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Like everything that came out was so Beauty and the Beast coded. So I'm hesitant, but I'm more so optimistic. Like even just the description on the dust jacket was well written. So not necessarily inherently intriguing, but certainly not like, So what do you think? Next is Winterspell. Now this is certainly more dated than the other one, 2014. So this is Winterspell by Claire Legrand. I have never heard anything about it, ever. But it was wintry. So this says the clock chimes midnight, a curse breaks, and a girl meets a prince. But what follows is not at all sweetness and sugar plums. Holy shit, is this a Nutcracker retelling? How did I not know that this was a Nutcracker retelling? Because I have just finished filming my December TBR, in which I always try and read a Nutcracker retelling. Now, I already have mine for this year, but I did not remember that Winterspell was in fact another Nutcracker retelling. Now I don't even care that it was written in 2014. I just want to read it. Yeah, New York. Oh, this one takes place in New York City, 1899. Clara Stoll, the mayor's ever-proper daughter, leads a double life. Since her mother's murder, she's secretly trained in self-defense with Drosselmeyer. I don't want to read any more. I don't want to read any more. Oh my gosh. Yes. Is this a violent Nutcracker retelling? Excuse me? I love a Nutcracker retelling. I'm, in fact, more excited about this one than the one that I had said that I was going to read this year. So, yeah. And if it sucks, and if you know that it sucks, don't tell me. Just let me find it out on my own, okay? I don't want any expectations going into a Nutcracker retelling because I want to read all of them. Next is Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. So I heard about this a couple of years ago from another booktuber who actually said that they didn't enjoy it. But this is why I think it's so important for booktubers to be able to give negative reviews, because it is specifically the negative review that made me want to pick this up, and not out of spite, because I don't have time to read this kind of book out of spite. You know what I mean? There's plenty that I will spite read, like just for the silly goofies of it all, but like this isn't one of them. But the thing is, I love an epic quest. I love it, especially when that epic quest takes place in winter. I want the camping, I want the hardship, I want it to feel like Balto. I want it to feel like they are fighting for their life to get that medicine to those kids in Anchorage. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibes that I want. I want it to be harsh, human against the elements kind of thing, which is so bizarre and so very unlike me. I'm such an indoor kid, and so I love an epic icy winter fantasy. And that's specifically what this book was, and that's specifically why this creator did not enjoy the book. It also, I think she said, like, felt very tropey, which fine, but not in, like, I don't think like in a romantic way. I don't even think there is a romance in this book. This is from 2017, so I think she just, I think, if I'm not just putting words in her mouth, I think she was saying that it just felt kind of formulaic from the time, like very product of its time, 2017. So let me tell you a little bit about what this book is. So this main character, she really wants to be one of the Emperor's like official explorers or something of these, they live in a mountainous terrain that's very dangerous to climb. And she knows that she'd be good at it, but no one will give her a chance. Someone rolls into her village one day, and it is the Emperor's like most esteemed explorer expeditionist, like just the best one, and she needs someone's like help from the village to like lead her to the palace or something quickly. And so that person selects her instead of her older sister, who is way more qualified, basically. And so she leads them, you know, through the mountainous terrain. Something happens, then she needs to go on her own side quest to like further the plot. I don't know. I know that this is, I hope that this is not frustrating for other people who like want all of the details going to a book. I intentionally skim. When I go into a book, I read so much, you guys. I read so much, and I don't talk about all of the books that I read. I read multiple hundreds of books a year. And so I've become quite good at skimming a book in order to identify, and most of the time I know if I want to read the book or not. I don't know just from skimming the book if I'm gonna like the book or not, but I know whether or not I'm interested. And in fact, it's much more enjoyable for me going into a book if I go in as close to blind as I can. So to do that, I still need to know enough to know if I want to read the book or not, but usually it's not just based on vibes. There are key things that I'm looking for. Like, yes, I love an icy winter fantasy, but I only want it if it feels epic. I have read so many icy winter fantasies that were awesome worlds that just, the plots were trash, and that's because they weren't epic, and they didn't sound epic either from the dust jacket. So I went into those for vibes, but not thinking I was going to like them. This one I think I'm going to like because it sounds like a lot of camping, and I love it. I love a good camping epic quest time. So anyways, that is Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. I look forward to this, but this is a January book. This is a solid January recommendation. Down Comes the Night by Allison Saft. There's a few things going into this book besides my knowledge of it, which is admittedly very little. In fact, I know less about this book than the others, and again, that's intentional. This is, and appears to be, quite gothic in nature. It's about a scary, spooky place that has like winds in the halls. Interested. It is a, quote, snow-drenched romantic fantasy that will keep readers guessing, unquote. Yes. Yes, based on that. Now, I bought this book. Look at this cover. That had a non-zero effect on my investment and purchase of this book. That's important to know. However, I have only read one Allison Saft book before, and I did not enjoy it, and I wanted to so bad. It was that Bridgerton kind of, the vibes were so there. The vibes were so there. It was, I don't remember what it was. It was probably like threads of something, woven of something. I don't know. It was, but it was the one that had like the most gorgeous editions, maybe my favorite editions of any book box, of anything. The colors were beautifully pastel, and it was clearly inspired by like the dressmaker in Bridgerton, which, like, what a vibe, right? Like, it was just so cool premise, cool, like it just felt so colorful and so like like the show Bridgerton, I mean, which I describe as like, it's like a confection. It's a confection for the senses and for your feelings. It's beautiful and fun and not whimsical, but delightful, right? Like, the stakes are only emotional in nature. You know, there's not a lot of peril that your characters are in. And so I just was so pumped for that book, and I knew I was going to love it, and I was so wrong. And it was so bad, and it was so simple and stupid. And for a book that was entirely about magical dressmaking, there was not any magical dressmaking in the book. And so it just felt like an absolute waste of a special edition, a waste of everything. I worried with myself for months and months and months on whether or not to keep the book because it was just beautiful, or to unhaul it knowing that I was literally never going to read it again, and it made me annoyed every time that I looked at it. And so I love that it went to someone else's hands who will like it. So my now concern is like, that's my only introduction to Allison Saft, and it wasn't the kind of book that was like, oh, this wasn't for me, but the next one might be. that wasn't the kind of writing that it was. It was just like, man, this is bad. This is bad and I'm judging you for it. And so now I'm concerned that I might not like this book and that it might actually be trash. But it looks kind of gothic. It looks not quite spooky, but it looks atmospheric. And it says romantic fantasy, which I appreciate. I appreciate that this did not say fantasy romance. So it tells me that there's like a plot that's more at the forefront. Now, did I read all the way through to get to where that plot is and what that plot is? No, I don't want to know. I'm just going into this book blind, possibly stubborn, possibly foolishly. I'm going into this book with a lot of hope that I'm wrong, and also that this book feels kind of like an end of winter kind of vibe. You know, where like the focus of the book is not the winter itself and the elements and things like that, but the winter is not a character in this book and it's not fully participating in the plot, but it is a beautiful backdrop and it is setting the scene, obviously, for what is going on. So I'm looking forward to that, but that's not like a first of the month kind of pickup. This is kind of an end of the month. This is the, you know, the mutable of it, you know, as we start to shift more into February, we're getting more into the routine of the year. Like that would be the time to pick this book up, you know, after I've gotten my fill of those high icy winter fantasies. So what do you think? Have you read this book? Have you read the other one by Allison Saft? Can you remember what the name of that book is? And put it in the comment below, because I don't remember, but I know that you know what I'm talking about. And did you like that book? So there you go. Those are 4 icy winter fantasies on my TBR. Maybe they'll be on your TBR too, or maybe you've already read them. And if you have, please let me know below what you thought. And if you haven't read them and want to, let me know, or let me know in general what you're reading this January. What is your Goodreads goal? Do you have one? I don't use Goodreads anymore, but I still refer to it as my Goodreads goal, which is dumb. It's my Storygraph goal. It's my book goal. Who cares? So anyways, what is that for you? Do you have a goal? Do you set goals? What's going on? I have given you so many options to respond to in the comments. Mostly just talk at me about books, because that is my favorite thing. But in the meantime, take care. Happy New Year, fight fascism, and happy reading.